What kind of food? What kind of food? What kind of fool do you think I am? You think you can go on seeing him? Darling, after we had made our plans, you said I'd be your number one man.
Peace and welcome once again to that great show entitled My Guest Ain't Guessing. As you know, this is the show in which my guests don't be shucking, they be all up in here, show nothing. Today is a fantastic show as usual. My guest is Professor Joaquin Jackson. Professor, welcome to My Guest Ain't Guessing.
Well, thank you, Mr. Loving.
You're welcome. And we are here today, as you know, I'm Leon Loving. I'm the host producer of the show, but I'm playing a special role today in that me and Mr. Jackson, Professor Jackson, we are part of a team. We are part of a group of professionals, shall we say, different people from different backgrounds, and we will be presenting Camp Grand Sky this summer. And Camp Grand Sky will be a camp for traumatized youth, correct?
Correct, sir.
Correct. Why don't we start out, first of all, before we get into the camp and all the wherewithal, give a little background upon yourself, since you have such a diverse background and you're such an interesting person.
Well, Mr. Loving, interesting background starts with first coming from a good family.
Okay.
I'm a PK, and PK just basically means preacher's kid.
Preacher's kid, okay.
And so my father made his transition in April of 2010. Mm-hmm. But my upbringing was always based in an environment where there were black-owned businesses, similar to what is called a Black Wall Street.
Right, that's what came to mind.
Yes, sir. So my upbringing was in that. I am a product of the Chicago Public School.
Okay.
I'm an honorable discharged Marine. I'm a college graduate. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a father, grandfather.
Okay.
We've been blessed to be able to run the largest African American Aikido school in the city of Chicago. And so the camp is basically what I do all week long, dealing with children.
Okay.
But there is a cry in our city for children that have been traumatized. When we say traumatized, not so much as not dealing with violence, but then a child can be traumatized by the fact of not having a father or a mother in the home.
There are many ways one can be traumatized.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so I truly believe that the camp that we're providing is going to meet some of those needs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was brought on board, maybe a week and a half ago. I'm going to be part of this.
Yes, sir.
Camp Grand Sky, as it's called. I guess it's the brainchild of Reverend Dr. Janet C. Hodge.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, how did you two come together, and how long have you been knowing her, and how does the whole thing come about with the other professionals that are part of the team?
Actually, Dr. Hodge has two nephews that were part of my Aikido class when they were younger. Mm-hmm. And during the summertime, we would have a summer camp at our school.
Okay.
And so it wasn't just based on martial arts, but to expand the horizons of children across the city, to take them to see other parts of Chicago outside of their basic environment. Mm-hmm. And meaning, first of all, being able to engage with what is the public transportation. And I don't know how many people have really engaged in being on public transportation. The difference between riding on the Metro versus riding on the red line or the orange line or the green line or the pink line. But seriously,
Gotcha.
There is a different mindset just in watching how people operate day to day. A matter of fact, I took a small poll with the children one day, and I asked them, we were coming back from downtown. I said, now which one would you all prefer to ride on? Would you prefer to be on the red line, or would you prefer to be on the Metro? And it was just hands down right off the bat. We'd rather take the Metro.
Okay.
And so it's having the children engage once again, in the diversity of Chicago is so important. But then there were those of them that parents have never been on the metro before, and it's right there in the community.
In the community.
Yes,
I was
sir.
going to bring it up that there are some adults as well as children
Yes, sir.
who have never been downtown
Yes, sir.
Chicago, have never been, live on the south side, have never been to the north side.
Yes, sir.
There's some on the west side that have never been on the south side. I know some people that have never been any place other than Chicago, never ventured out to any of the suburbs of Chicago.
Correct.
That's more outside the state of Illinois. So that's really something.
I truly believe that the camp is going to open the eyes of those of them that have been traumatized to know that there's a bigger world outside of the world in which they live in. And so there have been imaginary lines drawn in the sand to say, don't cross this. And we're here to help erase some of that.
Okay, and I agree.
Yes, sir.
wholeheartedly. Yes, we are. The camp in itself will take place in July, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. What are the dates?
The dates for the camp is going to actually be July 9th through the 18th.
Okay. And the camp itself, some of the activities or some of the things that will take place in the camp, what can you say about what will take place?
Well, one, for the children to be able to see Chicago on a different scale. I noticed something one year that when I went to school and you went on a trip, especially to the Museum of Science of Industry.
Science of Industry, yeah.
You would go in and normally by 12 o'clock you go, but you got there by 10 o'clock or 10:30. But then you had to have your lunch. So you really didn't get a total exploration of the place. Now the places that we'll be going to, we will have the time and we'll have the opportunity to take our time to show the children so it's not a drive-by, might I say.
Yeah, drive-by.
And so
right, yeah.
they'll be able to see certain areas like the Little Red House.
Yeah, Chicago Botanic Gardens.
The Botanical Garden, and might I say that the Botanical Gardens in itself is an essential place that sits right on the borderline of Cook County and going into Wisconsin. But the whole atmosphere, it consists of a peaceful mindset. And if children have not been in an environment where there's a place where it's peaceful, then
kind of it can also be called a safe haven within.
A safe haven.
Yes.
But then it would trigger their minds to say that, there has to be something bigger or greater
Right.
than where I'm coming from. And then when you can talk about, look at the gifts that the Creator has provided for us.
Exactly.
When you look at that rose, and then you look at that daisy, and then you look at a platitude of other things, but then you remind them that there's one thing that's most important, is that you're greater than that plant, that rose, and that tree. But it's here.
All your magnificence.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we will touch on the base of being connected electronically, so to make them more aware where they should be as to how technology is moving. One of the other parts that we would surely like to cover is to let them understand how money moves and shifts in America. So
On a daily basis.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And talk about the mere fact that you can wear a pair of $100 gym shoes from certain companies, but then how about buying stock? Instead of having your parents say, let's spend $300-400 on a party, let's take some of that money and invest.
Invested, yes.
And so down the line, I have something of substance to look back on,
Right. And
other
to
than
show,
the picture.
yes, which will eventually wear out real quick.
Actually, with children, it's going to wear out in 3 months.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
So the camp is to infuse the children that there's a gift and a genius on the inside of them that's looking to unfold. And how do we do that? We'll put them in certain environments that will show them that what they need, they already have.
Okay. And the camp is an echo camp.
Yes, sir.
Okay, speak on that.
Well, we will get that from the support of the Cook County Forest Preserve.
Okay.
and they'll be able to go out. We'll probably even get a chance to do some fishing and possibly even get a chance to do some golfing on an environment that's green. And when you're in an environment that's green, the air is fresher, don't have a smell. You're not smelling your neighbor's garbage, but you're smelling nature.
Yes.
And when you're in an open area, then your mind can open as well.
It's like you get a chance to let your mind air out.
Yes, sir.
Right. And you're not in, I call it the concrete jungle. The concrete jungle. So there's a different mindset when you go out amongst nature.
Absolutely.
And you come back totally invigorated and energized, really.
Yes, sir.
Mind, soul, and body.
Well, we're looking to make that connection with them.
Okay.
And maybe this one time we'll give them an introduction. But what we will really need to do is to be able to continue this kind of summer camp for them. I remember once as a little boy, my parents were putting me in a camp. So I had to go on the west side to get signed up for the camp.
Okay.
But the camp was somewhere further outside of Chicago, but not in Chicago.
Right.
It was a 2-week camp, but the thing of the matter is that I can still remember that the camp did not identify me.
Now, when you say that, exactly what are you saying?
Well, it was a multicultural camp,
Okay.
and it's almost similar to school, might I say.
Okay.
I was there, but there was nothing that I can identify with that was for me.
Okay.
And sometimes when we miss that identification, that's one of the most important components to growing. Where do I actually fit in?
Fit in, yes.
So the camp is going to touch base on you have a place and a purpose here in this world, regardless of however it is that you may have gotten here, but also the importance of being able to do something significant with what you have.
Also, it's naturally a STEM camp, meaning
Yes, sir.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Absolutely.
These things will be touched upon and explored and taught there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
But who are the creators of the science, the math?
The real creators.
The real creators. And so when I'm looking to run the race, I like to know what it is about me that can give me the intestinal fortitude to keep running the race. And then it empowers me to know that I can keep running the race because there are those of them that I can identify who have ran before me.
Absolutely.
So the camp is to empower the children to go on to be leaders back in their community. How is to be leaders? To go back into their classroom when the camp is over and the summer is over and know that they got a fresh start and that they've seen something bigger and better.
They've got a fresh start and they've got sort of a jump start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Over the other students or children in their classrooms.
Correct. If you don't mind me alluding to the fact that when I was talking about my upbringing, basically everybody that I had to deal with on this one strip, 907 West 87th Street, might I say. It's right off Vincent's.
Okay, yeah.
And we're talking about...
I'm further down the street from there on 87th and Laughlin near Ashland.
Okay. During the 70s, that one strip, it was one particular store, but it was about eight stores, 8 to 9 stores. But out of one, it was one Chinese, but the rest of them was being rented or owned by African Americans.
Okay.
So when you see that, then it pushes you and promotes you to say, let me do for self.
Self, yes, sir.
And so now when our children can't see self-owning, but always having to ask someone else, then it creates a different mindset for them. And so then when we mentioned here early on that this camp is being comprised with a cadre of professionals, that's going to help them also
Right, someone
professionals.
Professionals, yes, someone
And
they
I can
role
identify,
models.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I remember once in the Marine Corps, one of my company commanders, Captain Lanfutat, he, brother, but he was a captain, in which he inspired me to, once I got out of the Marine Corps, to become a military officer, because I could identify with him. And when we start identifying, it makes a transition in our own minds that if it's already done, I can do it as well.
Okay.
So the camp is to help feed another level in the children that the community is missing on, the substance that they need in order to say, hey, you know what? I didn't even know Chicago downtown looked like this. I didn't even know that going into a restaurant and being able to sit at a table and know that I pick my knife or my fork up on this side, and that I place my napkin in my lap this way, or I put it on my neck this way so I don't get anything other than going and standing at a window and making an order.
A fast food restaurant.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. There's more to eating than going to fast food restaurants.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so to change, to have a paradigm shift for our children, they need to have and see and be and do something totally different. And this is where this cadre of professionals have come to take care of.
And can you speak on some of the professionals?
Well, first of all, Dr. Hodge.
Dr. Hodge, she does pastoral counseling.
Pastoral counseling.
In Hyde Park. She's Reverend Dr. Janet C. Hodge.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. She does pastoral counseling in Hyde Park.
Now, when you have a little girl that can see a woman, an African-American woman,
successful,
and then have achieved the academia of a doctor, then that may be the one thing that spurred that young lady to go back and do well in school.
Absolutely.
And then we have the pastor there on the west side.
Is that
pastor and his wife?
Pastor Michael Washington.
Correct.
And his wife, let's see, what's her name? Dawn Washington.
Dawn Washington.
Right, yeah.
And so I think she teaches school.
She's going to school. She's in media.
Okay. And
he's a reverend.
And he's a pastor. He's a pastor. Okay. So he asked a question. Dr. Hodge asked us a question on our call once. She says, what would you prefer the children to call you? And then I alluded to the fact that when children start learning to use the proper titles for folks, it makes a major difference instead of what is being used in the community. And so I tease children every now and then. I'll ask them their name. I say, matter of fact, start off when somebody asks you your first name, tell them it's Mr. And when you say Mr., they're gonna look at you different, and then you give them the rest of your name. Then when they hear you say, my name is Mr., then they know they have to treat you differently because they see that you have a different outlook on yourself.
Yes,
there you
yes.
go.
And it opens up more doors.
Yes, sir.
Broader perspective on life. I recall once I was working at an employment agency downtown, a black employment agency, and we had a young lady who was working as a receptionist, fresh out of high school, and I would always go out and greet her as Miss So-and-so, so-and-so and so-and-so, and so did the rest of the people in the office. And she got terribly upset about that, being addressed as Miss So-and-so and so-and-so. And finally I asked her one day, why does that upset you so? And she said, because it makes me feel old. You know, she was only 18 or whatever, but
yes, sir.
She said it made her feel old. And she, I guess she wasn't used to being called Miss, and she was just used to going by her first name. And to her, if someone addresses you as Miss or Mrs., you're older. You're an elder person, so to speak.
But that's
proper.
That's proper rearing.
Yes, it is.
And so I still say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And people say to me, you don't have to say that. I say, well, I can rest assured that my parents wouldn't like me to just call you other than that. That's not the way I was brought up.
Let me do an identifier here.
Yes, sir.
You are viewing My Guest Ain't Guessing. If you got questions, comments, or show ideas, give us a call at area code 708-208-1239. Once again, we are conveniently located at 708-208-1239. And now, back to my guest for today's episode of My Guest Ain't Guessing. He is Professor Joaquin Jackson. Joaquin Jackson. And we are both talking about Camp Grand Sky, which is a camp for, we shall call traumatized youth, or which will take place this summer in July.
Yes, sir.
I think it's an outstanding opportunity for youngsters to take advantage of, and we hope all of you will take advantage of this great opportunity. Once again, give us a call. We're going to talk more about the camp and give you some more particulars in a second. So back to the show. Back to Professor Jackson.
Thank you once again, Brother Loving. I like the fact that you said we ain't guessing.
My guest ain't guessing, yes, sir.
And we have to position ourselves to teach these children. It's not a guess. Mm-hmm. You are already smart. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, you were a champion before you even entered into this atmosphere that we call life. You were already a champion. And so we have to keep alluding to that, simply because they need markers to let them know you have done well. But that's not it. There's some more in you that wants to come forth. And so they need individuals, they need programs, they need opportunities, so this very thing can come to the forefront that's already on the inside.
Inside, yes. And it needs to be brought to the forefront. Absolutely. And brought out.
Absolutely.
Pulled out,
and so I noticed something some years ago, that some of the non-for-profit organizations have come about by pain. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers.
Right, yeah.
The cancer program, breast cancer program. These things came to the forefront due to someone feeling pain. And I can rest assured our community has felt enough pain that something needs to come to the forefront to rescue these children who can't actually see down the road.
Nor can they speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And so I talk about a plant, and it's a plant that if you plant it, nothing's going to happen in the first 5 years. But who's willing to nurture something that they can't see any progress in? Who's willing to go out and pour water on it, talk to it for 5 years and never see any result? This is what has happened in our community.
So we must take the time and
we have to take the time.
Children,
absolutely,
for they are all diamonds in the rough.
Absolutely.
Or as I sometimes say, we are all stars. We just shine in different directions.
The young man asked the master. He says, "How do I become great?" And he tells him, "I need you to nurture this plant for 5 years." The first year goes by. He comes back to the master. He says, "I've done exactly what you asked me to do. I see nothing." He says, "But you didn't listen to what I said. I said for 5 years, not one." Comes back the second year. And he asked him, he says, "Now I'm in my second year. Every day I go, I water, and I talk to the plant. But I still don't see anything." He said, "That's good. You're working on your discipline." He comes back the third year. He says, "Look, this is the third year. I've done exactly like you said, and I still don't see anything." He said, "I'm glad. Now you're working on your patience." Then the fourth year comes and he says, "Look, I'm trying to hold on to getting this thing done like you asked me to, but I really need to see some results." He says, "I tell you what, now you're working on your faith. Keep believing."
Okay.
At the anniversary of the 5th year, The young student goes and as he's pouring water and he's talking to the plant, out of nowhere, the plant breaks up out of the ground and go 90 feet in the air. See, we're looking at children and we don't even know they have the capability to shoot 90 feet in the air because we stopped pouring into them. We stopped talking to them because Johnny came home with a D today, but that's not who Johnny is. Johnny has the ability to be an A, but somebody's feeding him the wrong thing. Somebody's not nurturing him the right way. And so when we want this thing to work in our community, we're going to have to go and nurture when we can't see what the end is going to be, right. But we know.
Yes, belief, and faith, and the invisible.
There we go.
Okay, yeah. There's a tie-in with the International Trade Bureau for.
Yes, sir.
Speak on that, if you will.
Well, done under the auspices of the Rainbow Push, is to keep doing for our people. And I like the mere fact that if we can't do it, who's going to do it? When somebody else does it, then guess what? We have to go by their guidelines.
So this is for us.
This is for us.
Yes, sir.
And so I like the fact that the International Trade Bureau is help pushing this forward, along with the support of the Cook County Forest Preserve. So there are things and people and situations in place so it can be a positive camp. And then by this time next year, we'll be into our anniversary, doing it a little bit longer, doing it a whole lot better.
Okay. So on the whole, it should be a refreshing, enjoyable camp with unique learning experiences that lead to healthier self-esteem and improved social skills and increased performance in school, plus more.
Yes, sir.
Plus a whole lot more.
Well, let me ask you this one
Yes,
question, Mr. Loving. Did you ever used to leave Chicago and go down south?
Sure did. Sure did. I went to my birthplace, Mount Bayou, Mississippi.
Okay.
And I neglected to mention this. One summer I went away to, I think it was Wisconsin or Michigan, for a summer camp. It was called Camp Sunshine Wind, something like that. I think I went away for was in the Boy Scouts, went away for a Boy Scout camp also.
Okay.
But I don't think any of them had the impact that I think this summer camp will have.
Absolutely. And the reason I asked the question about going to the South is to make a connection with your heritage.
Right.
But most of the children from preschool to almost 8th grade don't understand the connection, not only with the South, but with the motherland. And so school in itself does not always help in that situation. I talk to children that are in preschool, and I talk to children that are in high school, and when I talk about certain things that should have or could have been mentioned to help them further along, this is where the camp is going to fill that void to inspire them. So when you left and you went to the South for a moment to visit family and friends, it did something for your spirit.
Oh, certainly, definitely. It does something to you.
Absolutely. So there's a connection. The children in the South was